everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hello, my friends. Happy Tea Time Tuesday to you. I just love, when this is Sally Clarkson, and when I do Tea Time Tuesday, it kind of makes me think, oh, it's Tea Time Tuesday. I'm going to have fun today. I'm going to take a break today. And so here we go on Tea Time Tuesday. I have just returned from Scotland, and I have lots to tell you all about it. But I have a little quote today that I was reading, and it said, "Come, let us have tea and speak of happy things." And so let's do that today, my friends. Today I want to talk about, throughout the Tea Time Tuesday, about why it matters to celebrate. Celebration brings life to your life. And one of the things I was really realizing, we just celebrated my daughter Joy. And why is it important? Why is it sacred? Why is it beautiful? For one thing, God celebrated all the way through Scripture. He had the Jews celebrating. Remember the Passover. Have the Passover meal. Remember that the blood on your doorway means that Christ has given his life for you, even way years and years before Christ came to the earth. Celebrate all the different feasts, because each of the feasts remind you of the faithfulness of God. And so what celebration does when we celebrate, for instance, and I will talk about this a little bit later, but our family, as many of you know who've read The Life-Giving Home, we really celebrated birthday children. We would surprise them with a birthday breakfast, and we had 10,000 gifts. We wrapped things if they were a 50-cent pencil. It was just more fun. But, we would wrap little gifts or treasures or cards. Then we would have the birthday breakfast and cinnamon rolls and scrambled cheesy eggs, as in the Life-Giving Table book. And then we would each go around the table and say, I'll say Joy because we just celebrated her. I have just seen you stretch so much towards maturity this year. And I did say this, I've said this to her all week long. Not only are you living on your own, paying your bills, doing 2 different jobs, you're doing them well, you're keeping a home going that's life-giving and has lots of people in, and you're really walking with the Lord. And I admire so much the woman you have become. And when we celebrate life, when we take the time to celebrate people and celebrate milestones, it places in the foundational brain of the child messages that will, I call it putting messages in the treasure chest of their lives, messages that will speak to them the rest of their lives. Oh, I have worth. Oh, I belong to a family, to a legacy of people who believe in me. Oh, I have a possibility for a future with a hope. And you're going to hear about Clay's in my new book that is talking about giving your words. But it's not just words, it's the fun, it's the celebrating of life. And we really see that God truly understood this. I love in Ecclesiastes that it says, "Go ahead, eat your food with joy and drink your wine with a happy heart, for God approves of this." This is Ecclesiastes 9, verse 7. So I have really made it a habit, a life value, to attempt to lead my family. I'm kind of the conductor, the orchestrator I try to lead my family in the direction of happiness and joy through the rhythms and the ways that we live daily, the ways that we live through the season of the years. Because I really believe that cultivating happiness, celebrating life, is a defense against difficult times. Scripture teaches us that. It says that in Ecclesiastes, and a joyful heart is good medicine. A broken spirit dries up the bones. So we have to try to keep us and our children from having broken spirit. And so as I look back, I really believe that as a mom, I'm kind of the orchestrator of events. Events cost a lot. It costs energy, time, thought, money. And yet, as I look back on the last week, as we were in St. Andrews with Joy, I think that she will remember that we celebrated her, honored her, loved her, affirmed her. And this is kind of what our lives were like last week. The night before we left, we all had to pack our bags. You know what packing takes for a week. And you have to pack in small bags because you're going to have to lift them in and out of taxis, trains. And so we got a taxi at 7:15 in the morning. If we took it to the train station, had to crawl through the train station, get my phone out that had the tickets on it to let each one of us through the gate. And then we took a train to London, which was about an hour long. We had to walk over through the train station to find the tube that had the right train or the right underground subway to get us to St. Pancras, which is where we were going to catch our train for Scotland. And of course, you have to wait in front of the board until it tells you which platform the train is going to leave from. We're lugging our luggage all along the way. And then we boarded one more train, which we rode for about 4.5 hours. And we deboarded at Edinburgh because we had decided with Joy, Mom, why don't you come up and spend a night in Edinburgh and we can go to some fun restaurants that my friends and I go to. So we got out at Edinburgh and had to walk to find our little hotel that we'd found. Wasn't the best hotel we've ever had, but the place was packed out with students. And so finally we got to Edinburgh. We threw our bags in our little hotel room. We walked more steps to a fun little, it was kind of like a gourmet food court where each of us got different things and ate and talked about how wonderful it was. I think we ate enough food in 1 week and spent enough money on food in 1 week to last us for 10 years. That is kind of something that she and her friends had planned. And we had lots of fun with them. And so then we went back to the hotel, got up early the next morning. Now, the funny thing about Edinburgh is it's built on hills. And so for several different times, we had to walk up literally about, 3 or 4 flights of steps just to get from one street to the other. Steps. I'll show you the picture sometimes this week of us walking up the steps, walking up the hills. And Clay was such a trooper because he has a back situation, which he's had, a degenerative back disease, and he kept going. But anyway, we ate at the funnest places. Then the next day we ate at this fun little place that had 6 courses of tiny meals. They were kind of like mini meals. They had different tastings. And we had a little bit of brisket and a little tiny rib. We had sea bass. We had a vegetarian one. We had all these different ones. And then of course we ended up on dessert, and it took over a period of 2 hours to go through all these things. So that was kind of an event that Joy and her friend had wanted to show us about. While we were there, we ate, of course, at some point, fish and chips with the vinegar on the fish and the chips. That's tradition, and I'm more of a lemon and tartar sauce person, but these were the biggest fried things you'd ever seen. We went to 2 garden parties. One was a party that the school held where they had all these tiny little mini, I don't know what you call it, like a little mini donut and a little mini quiche and all those things. And then we went to another one. And of course, every place you go in the UK, they have lots of different kinds of drinks and stuff. And so then we were all so tired and so full, we even canceled the fancy place we had arranged for her graduation dinner, and we did it the next night. But the next morning, we had this little kind of an open house for her friends, and Joy said, "Oh, let's just get the famous donuts." So we went to this donut shop that's famous throughout St. Andrews, and we got a couple of dozen donuts, and the first half that we got, there are these huge things that we cut in two, are called Yum Yums. Do you want a Yum Yum? Just saying it would make it so much fun. And the Yum Yums are kind of what I would just call kind of twists, donut twists with vanilla frosting. But it's better because it's called a Yum Yum. And then we got what they call fudge donuts, but it is not fudge. It is thick caramel frosting. And inside it's filled with custard filling. And then we had to go to the Starbucks and get this huge canister. I think they could have fit a body inside for just 20 large cups of coffee. And, we're hauling all this back. And we had to get paper plates. And we had to get all the different things. And so what I have, the reason and then we went the next day and met with Joy's the advisor, the professor who examined her for her PhD. And what a wonderful family they were. He and his wife were both professors. And so we had tea and scones with the professor who was Joy's examiner. And we acted very English, drank the strongest tea I've ever had in my whole life. And then after that, we ate again. That was the night we celebrated her dinner. So between friends and parades around in it's called Sally's Quad. It's this big area between these gorgeous buildings and a big chapel where all of the students, after the ceremony, the chancellor whaps the student with a cap, and then they throw what do you call it? They have a robe, but then they have this kind of a sash around their heads, and that's when they become the PhDs officially. And the gown color is the color of the school and the major that you took for your PhD. So Joyce was theology of St. Andrews at St. Margaret's. That's the particular name of the school. And then after that, they all go and they parade around several times, as you might have seen from the video I had on Instagram. And so it was just so much fun. Of course, we had to get a big bunch of flowers. So it was taxi, train, change trains, hours, underground, Paddington, Oxford, taxis. And then we finally got home after all that again, repeating the process backwards with bags of dirty clothes that we had worn for the whole week. All that to say, it's so important that we celebrate, that we validate our precious people. While we were there, Joy said, "Mama, quick, let's sneak off and have coffee together." This was while we were in Edinburgh. And she did this 3 times for me, actually. Said this 3 times. "Mama, I want to buy you a little gift just to tell you how much I love you, because I want you to know that I am deeply thankful that you chose to home educate me, to prepare me to be able to access this high level of education." Well, my goodness, that meant the most to me. That meant the world to me. I would have given her $1 million had I had $1 million. And the reason it means so much is that sometimes I think our children, who are adults even, wonderful children, sometimes maybe they don't quite understand what parenting has cost us in commitment and time and sleepless nights and loving them, training them, correcting them. And Joy kept saying that to me. She said, "Mama, it's you all, it's you and Daddy who prepared me for such a life. I'm so grateful for you." And she bought me a cute little poppy china mug. She gave me my choice, of course, but for those of you who know my poppy story, the Lord provided me an opportunity to be on a train when I came round the bend and was flooded with thousands and thousands and thousands of poppies in this communist country where I was kind of discouraged. And the Lord whispered and said, see, I even live here in this communist country. There is beauty here, and I am here. And so she bought me this darling little poppy china mug. But anyway, I do think that, as I said earlier, that mamas oftentimes, and Clay is a real partner with me in a lot of this. He has his part and I have my part. He washes dishes when we have parties. But anyway, as I look back on all of this, I realize that sometimes all of the traditions and the routines and the kisses and the hugs and the prayers before you go to bed and the waking up in the morning and saying, I'm so happy to see you. You are my beloved Nathan. You are my beloved Joel. All of those traditions go into their hearts that hold them then close. It's not about force or did you teach them the right scripture. It's about the love, the kisses, the hugs, the words, the celebrating of life, the affirming of their little personalities. When I look back about 2 years ago, well, it's actually a year and a half ago, when I was still living in Oxford, Clay and I were, but Clay had just flown home to America for some business. And poor Joel and Joy were stuck with us in the house. The lockdown rules came the day after Christmas, and it said that no one was able to go back to Scotland and get in the border. And so we had to stay in our house here in Oxford. They couldn't go back. They couldn't work with all of their books around them. And after days and days, they longed to go back to their schedule, their houses, their books, because they needed them for their studies. And as I reflect on our time together, it was really such a special time for me because I had another chance to speak into the lives of my adult children. The rhythms that our family has kept through all of our years, no matter where we moved, what the place was, became really fun for us. We always ate long meals by candlelight every night. Not every night was long, but most nights were. I'd light the candles, no matter if we had oatmeal or Chateaubriand. And during the time when Joel and Joy were here, every day we could go outside and walk. So we walked miles and miles together among the Oxford canals. We sat on benches in the parks, looking over at the birds and the swans and the beautiful kind of blowing leaves in the trees. So we had so much time to talk. And even though we were locked down, we had meals, talks, walks, hikes. We read books. The dance of life goes on from one generation to another. When we dance with our children, celebrate, so to speak, we turn normal days into beautiful days by the way that we compose our lives. And I feel like I've really learned as a woman, not just as a mother, as a woman, as a spouse, as a friend, as a one in ministry, that today is the time for me to invest, to love and encourage, to give the writing of my own life on the hearts of other people, because every day I'm crafting the legacy that I'm going to leave for generations who are going to follow me. I love Psalm 90, verse 12. You've heard me talk about it before, but it says, teach us to number our days that we might present to you a heart of wisdom. And I just want to stop for a moment because there were some fun things that I'm going to tell you about, and I'm going to get back to it. But the book that I wanted to talk about today was The Relatives Came by Cynthia Rylant. And that's such a fun book because it celebrates in the minds of your children that when the relatives come, you have to give up your beds, you eat a million meals, you give hugs that last forever. When we as a family, we are all odd people, aren't we? Do we have fusses? Yes, of course. Do we have personality? Yes, of course. There is friction, but we are the orchestrators of bringing peace, loving people anyway, speaking with a gentle heart, pulling that little toddler who's out of control and kissing and rocking them. I feel like this ministry of motherhood that we do is back rubs, giggles, eyes looking into faces, souls listening to what's going on in their little lives. And that's what I like about this book, When the Relatives Come. I think I might have mentioned this before. I can't remember what I mentioned when, but David Davidson is the music that I want you to listen to. David Davidson is out of Nashville. He did a lot of different musical gatherings, playlists on, and I have him on Spotify. But some he did of things like Les Mis and the Phantom of the Opera. He has a lot of these instrumental songs. Those are kind of fun. But the ones that we would almost always listen to on the birthdays were the Celtic collections that he has. And so go to David Davidson on Spotify and find those little wonderful Celtic albums that he has done. And then the other one I want to tell you about is I'm going to give you, the particular one I like by David Davidson is Celtic Fantasy. We did that a lot for our breakfast, for our birthday breakfast. I want to mention another recipe that I just love. Quiche in the 70s and 80s became kind of a preferred luncheon dish for women. But what ended up happening is people started doing more cheese, more eggs, more milk, more vegetables. Like you'd have broccoli and cheese or chicken and onion or whatever kinds of quiches. And those are just fine, but I call those cheese pies, egg and cheese pie. But I wanted to just encourage you today to look up quiche Lorraine or quiche Lorraine, depending on where you're from, because that was the original quiche, and that's what I make a lot for my family. I absolutely love it, and it's more custardy and it's more, I don't know if you call it soft or I don't know what, but it's just wonderful. And this is the first quiche that became famous. And it's, of course, French. I love French food. How could we not like French food? They made croissants, as Nathan would say. So anyway, you do a pastry for a one crust 9-inch pie, whatever, if you want to get it at the store, if you want to make an oil pastry, whatever you want to do, you choose what pastry you're going to make and make it easy if you want to. And I usually do 6 to 8 strips of crispy bacon. I make my bacon when I do it. And sometimes I do turkey bacon because some of my kids don't eat meat or don't eat red meat. But I usually do, for quiche Lorraine, I do real bacon, streaky bacon as they call it in the UK. But I would do 6 to 8 pieces. And what I do is I line a cookie sheet with foil. And then I just put my strips and I cook it on about 375 or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I crisp up my bacon. And while it's cooking, I chop an onion thinly. I slice it and then I chop it. And I always saute my onions just a little bit before I put it in the pie. You don't have to, but I just barely saute them a little bit in some olive oil, just a little touch of olive oil. And you can even add a little tiny bit of olive oil and water or butter and water. And then get a little bit over a cup of grated Gruyere or Swiss cheese ready. And then you can also, and sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't, you can do 1/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. It just gives it a little bit different taste. And then you do no more than 3 eggs lightly beaten. And then after you've really beaten them a lot, you pour in, I put in a cup and a half of half and half and a half a cup of milk. If you really want a great quiche for a celebration, you got to do it with the cream. And then I put a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. So basically what you do is you do the, people have different theories. But anyway, I get all the bacon, the crust ready, the onion and the cheese. And then I usually beat it up, and I put the egg in the bottom, sprinkle the bacon, the onion, the cheese, and I swirl it around with my finger or my spoon and sprinkle the nutmeg and stir it around a little bit too. And then depending on where you live, you'll cook it for a bit of time. And you're going to say, what is a bit of time? And where I live in the mountains, I usually preheat the oven to 400 degrees. And I usually cook it, gosh, I'm kind of getting mixed up, but I think that I usually do it for about 25 minutes. And so you're going to put all of this in the oven. And when I did the crust on 400 degrees, did the mixture on 375 degrees, but I really like, I turned the oven down for the 375 degrees. I really like for my quiche to be set pretty well, but that makes the most delicious, lovely, soft, gentle quiche, and I have done it for many breakfasts and for many luncheons. Okay, those were the commercials. Now I'm going to go back to what I was just saying. I want you to know, and you know this, but I've thought about this a lot, of course, with graduation this week. Just recently, I was with my grandchildren. I had so much fun with them. And at every moment, Lillian, my 4-year-old grandchild, said, "Queenie, can I sit on your lap? Queenie, will you sit next to me? Queenie, will you hold my hand?" And you know what? The reason you want to celebrate life and kiss them a lot and hug them is there will be a time sooner than you think. And I was thinking about this with Joy when she would go off with her friends this week over and over again because we wanted her to have fun with her adult friends. I try really hard not to impose myself on my kids in such a way that they feel like they always have to be with me. But anyway, there will be a time when the door will not be slamming as a little boy runs in the house yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, listen, you'll never guess what we found or what we did. Mama, where are you?" The boy or a girl child. "Mama, will you just sit with me a minute and talk with me before I go to sleep? I want to tell you what I was thinking about today, Mama. Mama, I'm afraid. Mama, will you get me another glass of water?" Pretty soon, they will not want you to be with them because they'll be teenagers with hormones. My dinner tables were filled with teenagers awash with hormones and ideals. They would discuss their opinions loudly with life. And then they would say, "Mama, you're the best cook. Can I have more?" I bribed my children to become spiritual by feeding them a whole lot. Through all the seasons, we whisk here and there in a hurry, oftentimes just to get everything done. But my friends, stop today and notice. This is the day that you need to tell yourself before you know it, the early years of motherhood, the golden years I call them, will come to an end, and you will have no more time when your children will say, "Mommy, can I sit in your lap? Mommy, will you hold my hand?" You'll all of a sudden find out that there's a day when they'll say, "Mom, my friends are coming. Don't hold my hand." I think that even as the Lord speaks to us through visual art, there's a promise of spring with flowers and life is all a swirl with the beauty. That's a picture of the springtime of life as we are with the family when we have babies and when we have those elementary school years and we think they're the brightest kids that have ever been born. But as I look back on my own life, my friends, I really wish that I had taken time to enjoy it more. I wish I had taken time. I did take a lot of time to celebrate. I had it in my heart that I didn't want to pass on guilt. Now, I trained my children a lot. Look at my eyes. Should you have said that? We did the 24 family ways. We trained our children before we went to someone's house for dinner. We trained our children before we went into the grocery store. We gave them expectation to know what to expect. But we would maybe sometimes go out driving on Sunday evenings. You can read my book, The Life-Giving Home, and find out about all this. Even this summer, I'm going home just to spend time with Nathan and Kelia. We will have morning breakfast every morning, cheesy eggs and caffeine of their choice on the back porch in our pajamas. We'll still do that. We're still going to try to find a way to gather all of our children every year for Family Day to remind them about the faithfulness of God, to say we are the Clarksons and we watch God do miracles in our lives. We did hikes and picnics in the National Forest. But mainly the thing that I just wanted to say as we end this particular tea time, discipleship or Tea Time Tuesday, is that understand that right now these real little human beings need personal attention and love as much as a flower needs water and sunshine. You are the source of sunshine and water in their lives. We are those who water the garden of our children's souls so that they can spring back every day anew and refreshed. God made our children a picture of what we're like with Him. We need to depend on Him. We depend on Him for our very life, the oxygen of love, the oxygen of His presence in our lives. And in the same way that God is the love that causes us to grow and bloom and live a sustainable life, we are the love that causes our children to bloom. And when this day has passed and Joy's graduation is all over now, it's all over. I have to hope that she'll remember what we did, that I've done it well. And I am now in the autumn of my motherhood, getting to do it all over again with my grandchildren, but I'm not the mom anymore. And this is what I got from dancing with my father, and also I've done it in so many different books, but only the wise dance the rhythm of life. Only the wise keep the lights flowing. Only the wise cultivate the music and the love and the kisses. So this is my prayer, my friends, that you can listen to the music of your life right now. Even if you're with little ones, you will get over this time when you're not sleeping. It will pass. But these are the days when your kisses, hugs, love songs are going to shape these little brains, the little emotions, the little hearts. Same for teenagers, same for 27-year-olds who just got their PhD. Your love is a strength and a power to hold them fast to the legacy of what you believe and what you think about in your real life. So let me pray for you today. And just know that celebration is not a waste of your effort or of your time. It is a way of infusing love and belonging and legacy and affirmation and a sense of stability in the lives of your children, that while they go out into a very dark world, very difficult world, it is the celebration, the sacred, the celebration of life and of life events that will remind them that they have value and they have dignity and they have purpose in God's story. Dear Heavenly Father, be with these precious ones today as they plan their lives. Let them have traditions or moments just like the 7 feasts of Israel where they celebrate. Let them know that it's even more important that they look into the eyes of each child, each friend, each spouse, and say to them, I want to celebrate you because you have value. I appreciate you because you are loving, kind, helpful, generous. And Lord, help us to be those who bring life, who sustain life, who keep life going every day because we know you. Help us to learn the habit, the ritual of practicing faith by believing in your goodness and giving it to others every day of our lives. Bless these precious ones. Give them strength to endure. Give them patience with the difficult ones. Give them a vision for your kingdom work, that they might see you face to face and they will hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Lord, thank you that you're so patient with me and with my friends. We love you, Lord, and we give this to you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, my friends. Well, I just want to remind you, please sign up for my blog at sallyclarkson.com. My assistants and I are developing the most beautiful posters, planners. We have so much coming up, but the only way you will be able to access it is by signing up at sallyclarkson.com for my blogs, because we're trying to focus everyone there so that they can know, where do you find us? Where will you find our conferences, our speaking engagements, our the PDFs that we have, our membership, the things that we plan ahead. So it would mean so much to me if you, and tell your friends to sign up at sallyclarkson.com. And we have not found a house yet. I am trusting God for miracles. I believe that God cares. We would buy this house that we are living in if we could. They're having people come through it right now as we speak, because the sale fell through. But we do not have enough money to buy this house, obviously. And all I'm saying is that I really believe that if God provided us with this amazing fairy house, that He has in mind what kind of a house He's going to provide for us for the future. I love hospitality, as you know. And guess what? My visa came through on Friday. It's past the next thing. The Home Office said, we will grant a visa to Sally Clarkson. Now I just have to fly back to America a few weeks from now, after we've attended some conferences, and get my visa. And then I will come back and be able to start the discipleship process with this very wonderful church. So anyway, have a great week. Know that I'm praying for you and I love you all deeply in my heart. Talk to you again. Have a good week. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.